What is going on, Minnesota Viking fans? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. It's good to be back. How are you guys doing today?
Welcome back, Kyle Smith. Glad to have you with us this week.
That football game did not go the way I thought it was going to go.
All right, Kyle West, I'm ready to take my lashings. Let's hear it.
One of the three, said that we were going to get absolutely throttled by the Houston Texans. Sir, you have to have a little bit of faith in the Minnesota Vikings, particularly Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores' ability to just out-scheme the opponents right now. I think that is my big takeaway through three games. It's not necessarily that we are just so stacked with talent on off. Well, we are on defense a little bit, but on offense, they are just finding ways to put players in a position to succeed. What Bill Belichick used to do with the New England Patriots all the time. It's what the Vikings are doing right now. It's a lot of fun to watch.
And wasn't it nice seeing all those former Vikings players on Sunday?
It was pretty cool. Even the ones you forgot about, like Chris Boyd is also a part of the Tech.
Oh, yeah.
Cam Akers. I forgot that he got picked up there, even though we talked about it in the offseason.
Did we ever get a reason that Cam Akers didn't sign with Minnesota when people thought he was going to?
I don't know. I never heard anything, Adam.
Because I
didn't hear that either. This is my hesitation, Jake. This is that girlfriend you keep taking back and she keeps cheating on you, and I'm waiting to catch the Vikings behind my back again with the next door neighbor. All right. Given what we know through three games, let's just say it out loud. Given the context of the Colin Cowherd theory of give me the whole average, not the best and the worst. Hey guys, we're gonna roll Sam Darnold this year. That didn't sound sexy to anyone.
No, it didn't.
And it sucks because 8 months ago, we're in the 9th month of the year. So in February, if I would have told you that, we all would have been like, well, I guess we're mailing it in this season. What we've seen through three games, and I want to preface this by saying, Kyle and all of you can come at me however you like. I've watched this team not even a decade ago go 5-0 to start the season and end 8-8. I will pump the brakes until they win the Super Bowl. I am that negative Nancy now, and I try to look at everything logically. So I'm not going to be as fun as I used to be. But I will tell you this. It just occurred to me looking up at my notes. Do you guys remember that feeling when we got beat 38-7 by the Eagles in 2017? That's a lopsided score in the game.
I try not to remember that.
I can't forget, but I remember the feeling, and it made me feel like crap as a fan. I'm like, oh, no, there's a distance between us and this team, even though we're only one game away from the Super Bowl. Guys, the score yesterday was 34-7, and it really wasn't even close. We put that on a team that came in last year, won a playoff game, and they're my AFC prediction to be in the AFC Championship with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
That's how you measure yourself in the NFL. Absolutely could. Last year, the Vikings beat the 49ers. They ended up going to the Super Bowl. So I certainly didn't think we were going to beat the Texans. Didn't think we were going to beat the Texans and the 49ers 2 weeks in a row. So I would say they're off to a good start. Here's my thing, and I wonder if anyone in the comments or you guys feels the same. This preseason, lack thereof, is greatly detrimental for some teams. And for teams that come prepared, you kind of get out to an early lead like the Vikings have. I think next week will be their hardest test yet because it's a division opponent. It's on the road. But that Jets game isn't looking as scary as I thought it was going to be. Then they're going to get a bye. Then TJ Hawkinson's going to come back. Then Jordan is going to – guys, this team has been doing this without being at full strength. This is crazy.
So one of the questions I saw on a show, I don't even remember which one it was, but they said, how much longer is it until other teams start to replicate what Minnesota's doing on defense? And Brian Flores has this team set up with an interesting set of personnel that it might take a team a while to come close to replicating.
The Vikings aren't doing anything. It's not like he's came up with some new scheme that's never before been seen in the NFL. He's disguising coverage, and he's playing to his players' strengths. That's not a new concept. They're just doing it really well.
Before we get into game balls and donkeys, to kind of echo your point, Kyle, I think we also need to give Quetzy some credit. We all, including myself, He's in degree, some worse than others. I was like, damn, I'd really like to keep Danielle Hunter. Fun fact, they said it yesterday. He's like third all time on the sacks list, I believe, for this team.
I didn't realize he was up that high.
Dude, he's a monster. And he was out with the tweak one year and then a torn pec one year. So this is like not even playing, full. Guy plays 10 seasons all the way through. I expect him to be close to 100 sacks if he's really good at his position. But he's almost there, and he hasn't been in the league 10 years. And part of that time he's been injured. But we also got to give Questy the credit rolling with Andrew Van Ginkel, getting John Bruno, getting Blake Catchman. All these names that are like, okay, these are like B- to B plus signings. They turned out great so far. And it turns out when you have the cohesiveness between the head coach, the GM, and in this case, the head coach with the former head coach who's now your DC, hey, what kind of player can you use? Hey, that guy Van Ginkel, I had him in Miami. He's a monster. Go get him. Pretty sweet, man. I really love the defense. Didn't expect them to mesh this well. And I have a talking point later, if you guys will remind me, of a player that we might lose next year. Adam, I think you might even wrote about this, but we have to keep an eye on this because we know Harrison Smith's probably done after this year. It's going to be interesting.
Flores is really going out and getting his guys. I mean, when you look at what they did, even in the secondary, Griffin is not a guy that a lot of people had on their radar. His phone wasn't ringing. Got his guys at every position on that defense, and they are working.
Yeah. And then the quiet addition of Stephon Gilmore. That made me feel so much better on the secondary front because I feel like the safety room is pretty great. I felt like the cornerback room is a little lacking. Now it balanced itself out. Byron Murphy and Shaquille Griffin are great, but adding Stephon Gilmore to the team, I haven't heard about him in 3 games. And I'm like, oh, shit, yeah, we signed that guy. He's really good.
Are you pulling a Sauce Gardner and saying that Harrison Smith's pretty good?
Him too. That was pretty cool to see the kudos, though. I like that because I respect Sauce Gardner, and I think he's one of the best corners in the league. I think PFF would tell you that he is as well. But cool to see him giving the old guy some love. Now that Harrison Smith is the dinosaur in the league next to Aaron Rodgers. Oh, here we go. All right, yeah, I'll fix that, Jake. Give me 1 second. You guys, I know something that might help this little trick.
No, he left the show. No. He's going to leave you and I in charge, Adam. I don't know what to do. Quick, I'm having anxiety. I'm having anxiety, panic attacks right now. You put us on the spot. So what I wanted to talk about that he kind of hit upon a little bit was I think that they did a really good job of bringing in veteran players. I'm talking about like the Shaq Griffins out there who are maybe not at the level that they were earlier in their career, but they still have enough left in the tank to be solid contributors and starters out there on defense. And you can rely on them to be in the right positions on defense. I think you're really seeing why you should lean on veteran players out there.
And yet, Kwesi did something really interesting this season. He didn't go out and go after the guys that had made a major name for themselves. He went after the guys that had amazing years last year and are on the upswing, the young guys.
Yeah. Yep.
And he got quite a few of them, especially at edge rusher. I mean, he replaced Danielle Hunter with Grenard and Van Ginkel.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't he have the
Hunter still, but he's getting some production out of those 2 guys.
Doesn't he have the Wall Street background?
Oh yeah. Correct.
This is the total Wall Street move. This is the finding the right company to invest in at the right time when they're on the up and up. But you have to take a little risk to do that. And let's not deny it. He's had some moves and some draft picks where well, that didn't really work out. But that's part of the game. I think there's too much overreaction with social media anyways. Spoiler alert, people overreact when you don't hold them accountable for anything. But when he's been spot on with these picks and these signings, that he's been pretty good. And what I'm starting to see, if the season continues this way, not only will the Vikings probably make the postseason if they continue like this and there's not a major fallout or a major injury, but what I'm seeing is that first year to this year, the only thing that really changed was an injury to your star player that would have kept this consistent, because the more I'm seeing out of Sam Darnold and how good he's playing, the more I believe in the coach, for one, like you said, Kyle.
Yes.
But it's like, I think they know what they're doing, and it just sucks when you wanted to build off of 13-4 and it's like week 8 and you're like, oh, well, there goes the season. That sucks. Like having to plug the hole and make sure the ship doesn't sink with spare parts. Yeah, that's kind of tough to do.
You know what's interesting about this Vikings team, and I hate having to continually bring up Kirk Cousins, but this is going to be a conversation for a while.
I like that you have to keep bringing him up.
In Minnesota, is that we've inadvertently kind of are proving Mike Zimmer correct in not wanting to spend so much money on one position. So if you're going to put all your eggs in the quarterback basket and say, we're giving an ass load of money to this one player, he's got to be so elite that you can overcome the other areas that you're not going to be able to spend money on. I don't think that Kirk, he's not in the same level of a Patrick Mahomes, a Lamar Jackson, okay, where they can overcome the other deficiencies on the team. Suddenly, with the Vikings, you're not paying that much money to a quarterback. You've come way down in the salary space. And guess what? You're able to go out there on defense and you can sign 4, 5, 6 different players, veteran players. Suddenly, you have a much fuller, well-rounded team. That's kind of what Mike Zimmer was getting at.
Is there truth to the fact that Kirk Cousins is basically like a stat machine rather than a win machine? Because
yes.
Kirk has his numbers as far as like yards and things like that have blown what Sam Darnold has done out of the water, but Sam Darnold is getting it done more efficiently. Rather than more flamboyantly, I guess.
Let me look at the stats here really quick. Didn't Sam Darnold? So he is
currently leading the league in touchdown passes, which is wild.
This is insane to me. Okay, so against the Texans, he had a sub 200-yard game. Like if you just look at that and you go, "Oh, you threw for 181 yards," kind of average. 4 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's like the definition of, can you manage the game and make big throws when you need to? Can you convert third downs and can you score touchdowns? Yeah.
Nice. Also, shout out. Thank you, chat, for being here. Charlotte, Ryan, Sergio, Jake. We appreciate you very much. If you're watching as well and you're not in the chat, feel free to chime in. We'll talk about whatever you want, whatever happened in the football world yesterday or the past week. Guys, we have to talk about
it. It's exciting to see those huge passing plays, but I mean, that's all they really were showy passing plays. They weren't contributing to victories or anything like that, the way that Sam Darnold has been able to take his opportunities and turn them into points. What were they? They only missed one opportunity in the red zone on Sunday, I think.
I'm thinking back on it. I think you're correct.
I mean, that is such an efficient performance that's wild.
Yeah.
Well, it helps too. You have savvy players. Like I love it. I saw it somewhere today. It was like, when Kirk leaves, Justin's going to ask for a trade. Just trust me, bro. And it's like, okay, he's not getting his 100 yards a game average. It is going down, but he's catching the ball and he's undefeated and he's the highest paid player. You think he's all right with that? I think he's all right with that. I think he's
and he still has Addison out right now, and he's got Hawkinson out right now. Those guys are going to come back, and this offense is going to be wild.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to bring this up before we get going too far. We have to. It's week. We have to talk about it. If this continues, let's say the Vikings get in the playoffs, they win a playoff game. Maybe they win 2. Who knows? We're all talking wild here, and they're going to win the Super Bowl now, right? You keep Sam Darnold for another year, correct? Are we all agreeing if he plays like this? You're not just going to be like, well, we'll see if JJ works. Like, I heard this, and I'm stealing this idea. I'm not going to steal the take word for word, but this is a smart take from Colin Cowherd and his other guy. I forget his name, but they have a great thing on the volume. You should check it out. You don't have to pay Sam Darnold $50 million a year. If you offered him $35 fully guaranteed for 2 years and let JJ McCarthy do the Jordan Love thing, would you guys be cool with that? Because I'm kind of cool with the idea. If he resurrects and wins comeback player of the year, keep your ass here. It works. It finally works.
There's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts or candies and nuts that we're getting into here in a minute. But, I mean, if we're talking we make it to the wild card and then we get blown out 47-7 performance, I thank you for your services, but you're no longer required in Sam Darnold. If we're talking like we make the playoffs and we win a game or two and we look competent, if we make it to the Super Bowl, now we're really getting into the weird territory right now.
But how is it going to work when Minnesota trades for Bryce Young?
Yeah, how is that going to work, Adam?
Oh, no, God,
you're
Adam,
right.
I love you.
If you make a deep playoff run with Sam Darnold, I'm bringing him back so long as you don't have to pay him Kirk Cousins money, because I am not getting tied down to a fully guaranteed massive contract for Sam Darnold, even though he's potentially playing well. I'm still saying you got to take a discount because I believe that this head coach can win with J.J. McCarthy.
Okay, so Baker Mayfield, I just Google. I'm not even clicking on the link. It just shows up and gives you a summary. Baker Mayfield is set to make $30 million guaranteed in 2024, $30 million with $20 million guaranteed in 2025, and $40 million in 2026. There's $5 million per year in incentives, bringing the maximum value to $115 over 3 years. You sign Sam Darnold to that all day and twice on Sunday because the cap's going to keep going up. Why not? And if he plays well, you could trade him at some point. But I don't see and look, guys, if you listen to the very beginning of the show, I said lose all 3 of these games, and we've won all of them. And guess what? When we talk about the Packers game at the end of this episode, I'm going to tell you you're going to lose again because it's going to happen at some point, and I'm scarred for life. But if this goes we're talking now, hey, we get in and maybe you lose on a field goal because the other team had the last, and we lose by 2 points. Then there's something to build on here. Sam Darnold might have found his new home. That's what I'm saying. But Kyle, to your point, they make it to the wild card and they're 13 wins again, and they kind of look slow and sluggish or whatever. I'm like, I kind of want to roll through the rookie because the formula is like you said, okay, I don't have to pay this dude for another 3 years. Let's give that a shot.
Yes.
What was your feeling in your gut when Sam Darnold had to go out for that play and Nick Mullins came in and you thought, okay, are we going to get the rest of this game with Nick Mullins? What were you guys feeling at that moment?
What was the score? Wasn't the game pretty well out of hand at that point?
It was very winnable. It was very winnable, but there was also room for them to come back. I know Nick Mullins can throw the ball. That was was okay. Sam has 2 picks on the year, and one of them I think was tipped. I can't have you rifling an interception to a guy. I needed something weird where I'm all right, that wasn't your fault.
Yeah, Kevin O'Connell said, just go out there and hand it off. Didn't even let him throw.
yeah, of course.
I kind of thought they were going to let him rifle it down the field. Just take a deep shot, man. Just go for it.
Hey, we're going to run the ball one time, and then we're going to go play action on the next play. Get ready. Jefferson, stretch your calves. Let's go, dude. I get it. In the middle of the third quarter, they had plenty of time. Yeah.
Solid point by Sergio. There was a point in that game, though, where I thought they probably should have pulled Sam Darnold. They let him finish the whole game. Wasn't really necessary, I didn't think, when you got late into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, we got Davis Mills in this game. That was interesting.
Hey, that's Kyle West's guy, Davis Mills.
Mills did good.
I'd take Davis Mills as a long-term backup.
I'm sure Minnesota had some of their backups in there on defense against Mills, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw, was it Chris Redmond got it in the game? Good for Chris.
I don't know much about him. I'm ready.
Yeah, that's why.
I'm ready though. Yeah, I don't know much about who that is. That's a good transition though. Speaking of backups, late in the fourth quarter in the score, the Vikings won 34-7. Let's hand out some game balls and donkeys. This is a fun game. And I'm interested to see on both sides who you guys pick. I'm going to go first because I was out. I am giving my game ball to Will Reichard. Holy crap, man. I hope you never have to cut your hair, sir. 2 field goals along of 58. 58.
Do you think Kevin O'Connell kind of turned to him and said, "Do you want to try it?"
I think so. I really think so, Adam. They're like, hey,
because there was no reason to kick that field goal. They did not have to do that.
It's it doesn't matter if you miss, but this is good practice. I'm all for that.
2 of 2, long of 58 on the field goals, and 4 for 4 on extra points. He accounted for 10 points in this blowout game. Will Reichard, sir, I like you a lot. Way to go, you babyface killer.
Yeah, I'm still rolling with him. I'm liking what I'm seeing, and I'm excited to see him keep kicking.
Jake and I are on the same page. I'm going to go with Jonathan Grenard, who was all over the field this game. What did he have, Adam?
3 sacks.
3 sacks on the day. For a guy who was maybe brought in role player, like, I don't know if that's maybe undercutting a little bit, but good performance, good solid performance. You're seeing what Brian Flores is able to get and maximize his talent.
Apparently him and CJ Stroud are very good friends, but like for 3 days before the game, they didn't even contact each other.
You're more X's and O's than me for sure. Kyle, you probably are too. But I believe Jonathan Grenard got these sacks from different sides of the field too. One off the right side, one off the left. That means he's going against Tunsil. Dude's a tackle, and he's like, man, fuck off.
Tunsil looked baffled out there on Sunday. Yeah, he was lost in the sauce out there.
4 or 5 penalties directly against him.
Whew.
Yeah, that
he's a very good offensive tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my point. Is Jonathan Grenard was doing this against both sides of the line, and what a nice revenge game, because I thought it was going to be the Danielle Hunter and Stephon Diggs show. I was going to put money down if I was a DraftKings or FanDuel bettor to be like, well, here's Stephon Diggs for 180 and 2 touchdowns. Like, that's just how it's going to go.
Let me give you a bold take. Stephon Diggs is overrated.
Oh boy.
Here we go. I love it, dude.
But on Houston, I mean, Houston's got so many quality receivers that Diggs doesn't have to wear the whole burden of an offense the way that he might have had to in Buffalo. I mean, when you got guys like, Tank Dell and those guys catching passes, making plays, Nico Collins, I mean, you've got an offense where you don't have to take on the whole burden. You don't have to feel like you're doing it all. And I know Diggs wants to be that guy that can do it all, but I'm wondering if he'll be able to accept that he isn't that guy right at the moment.
No,
he's got to have some kind of no or tell that, like, hey, dude, I'm entering the back 9 of my career. I can't be number 1 always. I like that he was respectful this week, though. There was a likable quality about the things that he said before the game about Minnesota. He said, we played when I was in Buffalo. We played them last year when they came. He's like, I haven't been back to Minnesota since I left. And if you guys didn't see, the Vikings reposted it. Him and Justin Jefferson jersey swapped, and they kind of had like a friendly, like, man, he's like, you're the shit. Like, it was heartwarming. I still think that he's probably questionable off the field in certain aspects, because a lot of his teammates are like, no, hell no, you can't date my sister, which is hilarious. But it was heartwarming to see he gave us as fans and he gave the team respect and said, hey, look, I'll always have a soft spot here. They drafted me. So
they need to bring that question back for Tell Us with Metellus.
Yeah, they really do.
Yeah.
I would like to start, but I'll give an honorary game ball to Aaron Jones, because he had his first 100-yard rushing game as a Viking, and his touchdown didn't even come on the ground. It was in the passing game.
Yeah.
So yeah, Aaron Jones had a fantastic game, and I'm actually going to use that to round into my donkey too. Ty Chandler could not get anything going. Not only could he not get going on the ground, but he did not get involved at all in the passing game. And I know that when you're in a game like this, you don't really need to get going too much, but when you're winning that much, you usually try to grind the game out. And Chandler, when he got in there and got opportunities to try to gain yards, he couldn't do that. But as far as our game ball, he's not going to show up in the stats, but he had a massive game. Harrison Phillips is having an amazing season. He's getting his paw up. He's getting in passing lanes. He knocked that ball directly into Campbell Grugier-Hill's hands, and that was amazing. And he won
we got to talk about that guy.
A lot of pressure up the gut. He is having a great year, and that extension came at a great time.
You guys raise your hand and comment in the chat. Did you know that Camu Grugier-Hill was even on the team? I had no idea who this person was. So, no
Adam's
idea.
probably the only one, because he writes about the Vikings.
Grugier-Hill. He's got one of those weird, like, Frenchish names.
Grugier. Dijon mustard. Yes. No, I was watching the game. So fun story. I went to Buffalo Wild Wings because I got out in time to go there, and I really wanted to eat way more wings than I should have. So that's exactly what I did.
What sauce did you get?
So I am a kind of a variety guy. Traditional is the honey barbecue. Okay. Not bad. Mild little kick. If you want to get kind of crazy, I'm so glad they brought it back. Jam and jalapeno. It is my favorite.
Nice.
Yeah, a nice little round the spectrum there on the there. But I was reminded really quickly why I don't go to public restaurants to watch football games anymore. I haven't in years. God, people are annoying. There's so much attention that needs to be had for some people. If you have to scream in a restaurant, you don't need to be there. There's no need. We don't need to know about your game because you won't shut up and keep your volume down. It's really weird. It's kind of a look at me thing. It was really annoying. I left at halftime and I watched the rest on my phone on the way home. So, yeah.
And but, also, major shout out to Bobby Bryant going in the Vikings Ring of Honor at halftime.
That was cool. That was really cool. Not being a fan my entire life, and then obviously not being around for the first half of this organization's tenure, learning about him in the history, especially like the really bad years, like that Christian Ponder rookie year. I did a real deep dive on the Vikings as far as historical stuff, and that's when I learned about him. Completely haven't thought about him since. But I was
and
like,
Bryant's a real community guy. Whenever the Vikings do events or anything, he always shows up. He's there with fans. He's doing his thing, and it's so great to see him getting recognized.
He had a major play in one of those championship games to lead the Vikings to the Super Bowl against Roger Staubach and the Cowboys back in the day. It's really cool, man.
The Vikings all-time leader in interceptions?
Interceptions? That would be Paul Krause, right?
Paul Krause, right?
No, most of those happened in Washington with Paul Krause.
He might be. Let's see.
I know Paul Krause has a lot more. He's the NFL all-time leader in interceptions, but I think Bobby Bryant is Minnesota's all-time leader.
There was actually a fun video that the Vikings put up on social media. It was a trick play with Paul Krause throwing a touchdown.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'll have to forward that to you guys after we get done talking here. I've never seen that before.
Wow, very close. Paul Krause, number 1 with 53 in purple. Number 2, Bobby Bryant, 51. 3 touchdowns. He had more touchdowns than Paul Krause in purple.
Who's our top 5?
So you have Paul Krause at number 1 with 53 INTs. Bobby Bryant, number 2, 51. Number 3, Sherrockman. Wow, yeah. 1962 to 1972, 40 interceptions, 3 touchdowns. Joey Browner, of course, 37 with 3 touchdowns. And then there's an ad. Thank you, Vikings. Who's number 5? Harrison Smith, 34.
Nice.
4 touchdowns.
How far you got to go down to find Antoine Winfield?
Let's look. 7, 8, 9. It only goes to 9 out of 10 on this list. Why would you do that?
And how far down is Chris Cook?
Oh, that's so good. Here we go. That was fun. All-time interception. Let's go to stat news. I want to see where Antoine Winfield is now. Let's look at that.
So opposing fans don't seem to like the skull chant very much.
Yeah, I love how that irritates other fans. I didn't know that they hated it so much. I think they're just jealous that we have this awesome, cool thing that we can do in Minnesota that's really loud and we can all do it in unison. It's fantastic. It travels really well. I love when Vikings fans are at the opposing team's stadium and you can get a skull chant going. That's an awesome moment. Honorary game ball goes to the fans in US Bank Stadium for being just loud as can be.
That was fantastic.
They were messing up the Texans snap count hardcore.
Also, just in case you guys are curious, now is a terrible time to try to buy Vikings tickets.
I bet they're skyrocketing. I bet they're through the roof right now, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, because I was looking into a game, that first game in November, maybe going to US Bank Stadium, and those tickets ain't cheap anymore.
Yeah, I was in an Iowa State football game earlier this year, and Sergio and I ran into someone else who was a Vikings fan. And so, yeah, you're right. You do the skull to a stranger, and you'll get it back. You'll get it back.
I saw it a lot traveling. I wasn't in town last week, and I didn't want to do it from my phone. I was in Texas all week, and on the flight, my Vikings gear, had my Minnesota bag, which I'll show you guys. I'll pull up here before we get done. If you want to spend a little money on a cooler/bag, it's great for a carry-on. But I got a lot of looks with that, and people are like, "That's a cool bag." And I was like, "Football team's pretty cool." And then in Dallas and in Charlotte, I saw Viking fans. So there's 2 scattered about everywhere, and it's all a polite nod or a polite skull, just like that skull.
Yeah.
Thank you. Donkey, it's right over here. Garrett Bradbury. First, you took out Justin Jefferson last week, and now you're doing false starts in a row. Stop right now. Stop it.
His balance was off in that game. It seemed like he had trouble holding position and getting low through most of the game, which was kind of rough considering he was getting beat a little bit. But overall, I think in pass protection, he did pretty solid. When I did my article over on the Viking Age, he was one of the players I called, he said had a loser game because Minnesota didn't have very many guys who struggled, but Bradbury did have a costly penalty, and he did have trouble protecting when he was getting knocked off balance. So maybe it was just an off day for Bradbury, but he's got to get that together, especially with him being a touch undersized for center.
I still feel like you look to replace Garrett Bradbury sooner rather than later. He's serviceable. You can rely on him. He's not terrible, but you can probably do better.
It's also, you can pair a younger new center if they work out with JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
Love that idea of them growing up together and like in the league. Like, that'll be great. I'm really down for that idea. I'm not as quick to run Bradbury down, but I'm also like, if they replace him, like, you won't hear me say anything bad. I don't have anything negative to say about him. I'm like you said, Kyle. I think we can upgrade. I think there's to be had, but he's kind of middle of the pack for me as far as the starters around the league. Yeah. He's been great while he's been here. A great dude. I'm with Adam though. Like, I felt like a tiny baby standing next to him. And then I realized like how small he looked on TV against Dexter Lawrence a few years ago. And I'm like, oh, they're just like extra large humans.
Oh yeah.
I remember meeting Bryant McKinney years ago, and you talk about one of the largest human beings I've ever seen. Like, you realize very quickly when you stand next to someone like that, like, oh, NFL offensive linemen are absolute freaks of nature.
Have either of you guys ever gotten to meet Steve Hutchinson?
No.
I wish.
I never did.
He is a very large man.
Yeah.
I believe it. I think that's what makes meeting John Randall so impressive, because he didn't like overwhelm me physically, but I know that he could throw me through the wall, even at that age now. Like, it's kind of weird. Charlotte says, you mean to tell me you're in Dallas and we didn't know? Let me rephrase that. I was at Dallas airport. I was in San Antonio all week. And yes, I will make a controversial statement on this show, and I will die on the hill. I had Whataburger every single day that I was there, and it trumps In-N-Out, and I don't care what anybody says. I'll die on that hill.
I thought you were going to make a Charles Barkley statement about Dallas. Or San Antonio. Sorry.
San Antonio? No, I'm not going to say that. Oh, man. Barkley he is quite the entertainer. That's hilarious. Yeah, I get to go down to San Antonio for work. I'm pretty convinced if I have anything to do with it, after I've fathered my child in college and done my due diligence as a dad, I think I'm going to move to that city. It's where I'm going to retire and work out of, but not at the current moment. But God, I love that place. I have a lot of positive association with my military time there, so we'll see. Texas is still hot as shit, by the way. It was like, I went to the gym one day at 5 p.m. It was 107 outside, so
no, thank you.
That's no,
thank you.
He said time to never come back. I love Whataburger, man. I'll go even further just to make you mad, Sergio. I think In-N-Out's overrated. I think anytime you have to Google a secret menu because it's the cool hipster thing to do, it makes it 10 times lamer. Yeah, animal style is delicious, but
yeah, I've never been to either of those places.
Yeah, I'm like Adam. I live in Iowa. I don't think we have either of those restaurant chains here.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys, what is that? Loose meat sandwiches? That's what you got in Iowa.
Can we just call that a sloppy Joe? That's what it doesn't have the sauce, but it's a sloppy Joe.
Yeah. They're terrible.
Completely unseasoned sloppy Joe is what it is.
I'm with you on that one, true. Adam. I am on your side. It's stupid.
I don't know if everybody give away their donkey. I know the chat was with me on Garrett Bradbury. Does anybody else want to give away a donkey?
I gave mine away.
Kyle?
I'm not doing one until we lose a game. I'm just not doing it.
There we go.
And then you're going to shave your head too?
No.
Oh.
That's not true, Sergio. I get the jam and jalapeno for the kick, and that is up there on the scale. I have a decent
don't
palate.
include me in kick. I love kick. I eat the spiciest stuff there is, so don't you tell me.
Yeah, he's got 4 different flavors of mayonnaise, and they're all spicy. Listen, man, I am a white guy, so our palates are a little different than other cultured people. I have been around the world, though, and I will defend myself. I have eaten a lot of spicy food. If I don't like the taste, I don't like the taste. I can't help what my tongue says it likes. You quote me on that. But
Put that on a t-shirt,
right? Yeah, I remember back when I was the 2012 season, and I had jam and jalapeno, and then they got rid of it while I was overseas, and I came back. I was pissed. And then 4 or 5 years later, they brought it back, and I ordered way too many just to have that back. I don't even like jalapenos by themselves, but that flavor's all right on my adult chicken nuggets, because that's what they are. Boneless wings are adult chicken nuggets, and that's okay.
I have gotten attached to Caribbean jerk seasoning. I love that stuff.
Nice. I like those too.
So when I go there, I try to get one that's kind of mild, and then one that's got some kick. Whether it's Asian zing, which is a little bit of a zing to it, not too much, but it's nice. And then you grab something that isn't very powerful at all, like a garlic parmesan or something like that. You never know.
I used to like that back in the day, but I tried it recently, and it's just really overwhelming and too much.
It's a lot.
Yeah. It's very staunch, if I could use a word for that.
But then you got people that just drown them in ranch anyway, so it doesn't matter what sauce you get.
It's true. I am people. Let's talk about the details of the game, though. Nobody gave a game ball to Sam Darnold. I think he was worthy. You mentioned on it, Kyle. Doesn't have to have mind-blowing yards. A lot of guys are throwing the ball everywhere. They have to play a little cleanup, a little bit of catch-up ball, but he doesn't have to do that. 17 of 28, 181 yards, but four touchdowns, no pick,
like I said,
119 rating.
And boy, did he get Justin Jefferson involved early.
Pretty sweet.
It's almost like you need to get you should get your star players involved in the game plan.
But towards the end of the game, didn't it look like Jefferson kind of struggled a little bit with maybe that finger or whatever's going on with him?
Yeah, I think he jammed his finger, his pinky, when he went to catch the ball a little bit. He's injury prone. We should probably trade him at this point.
Yeah. Hey, while we trade him, we should eat the salad. We should pay for him to go. So you're right, Kyle.
Yeah, let's send him to Carolina. Get out.
Hey, I put him in the chat, dude. You guys gotta watch that Jefferson touchdown. When they show the angle of that side of the field, he was on the left side of the field. That defensive back is going to get his ass chewed today or tomorrow. They watch that tape.
I was going to say Justin Jefferson could make Andy Dalton look good, but Andy Dalton looked good anyway.
He did.
Yeah.
That video you sent with the what is that Matt Damon movie? It's wonderful. Good Will Hunting. With that as the back, dude. I laughed so hard. I immediately sent that to my best friend from Boston. So funny. Nice. 2 drop passes on 3rd down. Time to trade him. Yep. Well, you know what, Sergio? Let's echo that. He didn't get a lot of double coverage, and he's not good enough and a big enough star yet to demand that immediately. So that should tell us it's time to get rid of him.
And one of those passes was a little behind him, so there is a little bit of a, it wasn't a perfect pass, but Jefferson has been known to convert on those not perfect passes.
Yeah.
So how well do you think Sam Darnold feels just on the most basic human level, where he has to know he's been shit on by sports media, he's been shit on by a lot of fans out there. For him to get cheered, he had to go out for that play. When he's coming back on the field and Vikings fans are standing, cheering for him, giving him an ovation to come back on the field, and you can see him turn and do that a little bit, dude, he has to be loving. He has to be.
Are they cheering because he went on the field or because Mullins was leaving it?
I was going to say, they're like, oh shit, Diet Jay Cutler just came in. We gotta pray now.
I was laughing so hard as my nephew, I'm like, watch, they're gonna have him handed off. And sure enough.
That was a smart thing to do.
Seriously though, don't you think Darnold is just loving the reception that he's getting? And you listen to how well Kevin O'Connell talks about him in the locker room and to the press, and you wonder why he's playing at such a high level, that 100% factors into it.
I don't know. We still need Carson Wentz to come back now, so all the gingers can get rolling.
Where is he even at right now? Is he on a team?
Carson Wentz.
Is he the Chiefs right now?
He is the backup.
Yeah, you're right.
He is. He's a backup for Mahomes. God, what an opposite end of the spectrum that is. If Patrick Mahomes gets hurt, that sucks.
Carson Wentz.
Oh, no. He would look like a superstar with Andy Reid, though. And we know that. He'll do it.
I love how when Smith's light goes out, he looks like he's in one of those videos where they're trying to protect the guy's identity when he's talking to the police.
Yeah, it does.
I have the darker theme for my Google Chrome, and I'm clicking on these things, and then it goes dark like this. And then they told me that. That's so funny. I won't click on that.
You need one of those voice distorters for when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
If Sam Darnold keeps this up, is he going to win NFL comeback player?
I've heard people saying that he's right now he would be in the running for MVP if that was
he's absolutely in the conversation. He's absolutely in the conversation. I'm not sure if he'd win it just because the team has to do very well if he's going to win this individually, and he'll have to have the stats. But I think in the conversation, he's absolutely in the conversation right now. But like I said earlier in the show, pump the brakes, people.
I know.
We've seen 3-0 Sam Darnold with Carolina, and we've also seen last year the Vikings on a game winning streak with Josh Dobbs and Nick Mullins. We got to pump the brakes just a little bit. If they're like this at the beginning of November and they've only lost 2 games, I'll be fully invested they'll be a playoff team.
Remember when the media said the Vikings defense was going to take a step back? It was going to be worse? No one has any idea, dude.
You know what I laugh at is I laughed at yesterday and bragging for myself, trying to get the game point. Because my friends text me, they're like, holy shit, your team's for real. And I was like, I sent him the MJ meme from this documentary. It says, Brian Flores heard Tua talking shit. He said, and I took that personal. Hey, dude, you notice right when that happened, what was that right before week 1 or right after week 1? And all of the defensive players here were like, nah, this dude fucking rules. We love playing for him. What do you mean? Immediately they were like, we support this.
Harrison
Josh
Phillips and
Ellis, all those guys are like, he's fucking awesome. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Come on. And I don't mean any disrespect.
While we're talking about Sam Darnold, I wanted to talk about Sam Darnold is one of those players that I read about every week where I say he's going to make some mistakes every week, but being able to get past those is okay. Like this week, we saw those 2 really ill-advised shovel pass attempts. I didn't like either of those. Then there was
one was a lateral, and it was really bad.
Well, his arm got hit on that, and I don't think that was intentional, but it was a play that I think, maybe he shouldn't have even really tried. But yeah, if you can overcome those mistakes, Darnold can get you where you need to go. And so far, they've been able to overcome those kind of miscues and not have them be too costly. But if he tries some stuff like that, like against Green Bay or something, and Green Bay can get a takeaway on that, it might be a little different because I haven't seen a rattled Sam Darnold yet.
Right. And I understand that that's the broad point that Kyle Smith is making too about pump the brakes a little bit too. What's going to happen if we're in a wild card or a playoff game and he makes one of those mistakes with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter where we need a field goal to win the game. And all of a sudden here's a shovel pass that goes for a pick 6 in the opposite direction. That could happen.
Yeah, with Addison out, those other wide receivers had to step up, and Brandon Powell had a great game. Jalen Naylor is really bringing it on this year.
Yeah.
I barely know her. What do you mean?
And whether you even know he's on the team or not, Trent Sherfield is out there making one play every game, contributing.
Dude, I had to ask him. I was like, who the fuck is number 11? And then I was like, oh, yeah, I remember you. Hell yeah. Way to go, Trent.
Hey, the announcers made a solid point when they said the Vikings kind of had to learn how to win without Justin Jefferson for a spell last year. And it's sort of paying off right now when, like you said, Adams, there are moments in the game where maybe he gets schemed out of it by the other team's defense. And you have other players who are able to step up and fill in that void around him.
The way Justin Jefferson can create separation is amazing. I mean, I know these defensive backs have to try to contain a player, but if Sam Darnold can get any time in the pocket, I don't know if there's a cornerback in the league that can stay steady coverage on Justin Jefferson the way he cuts and runs. I don't know if there is.
There isn't. And the way that Kevin O'Connell is able to scheme him up and move him around the field gives him the ability to do exactly what you said, Adam. You go back to that touchdown, the touchdown reception by Aaron Jones, where they line Justin Jefferson up in the running back spot, and he runs his route out of that position, and Jones lines up as a receiver. I mean, that's who thinks of that? That is scheming your players to succeed.
And did you see that Justin Jefferson touchdown where they made it look like he was going to go to the back corner of the end zone for Jefferson, and Jefferson did a comeback and he was wide open.
Yes. Yep.
Is that the touchdown that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about. If you guys watch that play, that cornerback's going to get his ass chewed for that. You have to follow him every to the.
He got burnt so bad. He thought Jefferson was going to stay in that corner, and that was not happening.
It was probably the second most nasty route I've seen Jefferson run that won't blow you out of the water. The other one came against Stephon Gilmore in that back against Indy. That little shimmy move where he went one way, didn't, and then he went back again. That was the nastiest thing I've seen in the game where you just turn around and walk away. You're like, I don't even want to hear it. That was terrible. Yeah, that corner said there get some words. That was a little easy, and I was like, well, shit, we'll take those all day long, I want to transition this. You guys are talking about it. We're going down the line. Guys, there's 3 players I don't want to see get injured on the offense this year. Sam Darnold, Justin Jefferson, and Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is a difference maker, and I don't care that he's in his 30s. If we can just have him play 3/4 of every game, and then we can rotate in whomever afterwards, he's doing everything effectively. He was the leading rusher yesterday, 19 for 102. He averaged 5 yards a carry. He had a long of 39, but that's fine.
Can I add Christian Harris out of your list?
Yeah, you should.
Well, yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let's rotate.
Brian O'Neill went down, but I am a big fan of David Questenberry and his story. I love that he's rebounding himself after coming back from, what did he have, leukemia?
Yes.
And he lost all that weight, and then he was able to put some weight back on and come back, and he's playing quite well.
I got to look him up now. I got to look up this story while I go black on your screen again. Yeah. Aaron Jones also yesterday, second receiver, targeted 6 times, 5 catches for 46 yards and a touchdown. It's when you can be that dynamic on the field. And what I really love, you guys already kind of alluded to it, though, some of the plays that Kevin O'Connell's drawing up. I forget the pass interference. It was on a tight end. What Darnold to Jefferson to another person to Jefferson back to Darnold and then a pass. Normally I'm like, don't ever do that. But it ended up being a positive play. And, lining up Jefferson in different spots has really confused teams the first 3 weeks. This isn't the first time another Vikings receiver or pass catcher has caught a touchdown because Jefferson's lined up over here and a couple of the backers are like, shit, what do we do? It's like, we'll try to play. The play's already over. So
Justin Jefferson, he's so good at what he does that you could just rely on him to run a route and eventually he'll out physical and beat the coverage. The fact that they can scheme him in ways that confuses the defense as to where he's going to line up, what routes he's going to run, you're just giving him even more of an opportunity to succeed. It makes me a little nostalgic a little bit because we've always mentioned, man, I wish they could have used a player like Percy Harvin like this. I really wish you could have seen him in the modern NFL. But I'm such a big fan of Justin Jefferson and how humble he is that he's willing to even go out there and be a decoy on offense to allow other players to succeed.
Sam Darnold's confidence in this game was mind-blowing because on that touchdown pass to Johnny Munt was triple teamed.
Yeah.
He was not open.
Yeah.
There was a very small sliver of a window.
There's that old Sam Darnold we know and love. And I hate talking about him because he's annoying most of the time. I said earlier he had the most punchable face. Colin Cowherd said he was pretty good, though. He's like, you see on the side of Sam Darnold, there's a little not Carson Wentz, Andrew Luck there, where you're like, oh, he can move a little bit and he can throw. He's got a hell of an arm. And then on the slower side, the side we've seen more of in his earlier years, like, yeah, there's a little Carson Wentz there. He's a little reckless sometimes. If we can find that balance and push him towards the Andrew Luck side, this is going to be a fun year for him and for the fans.
Now,
yeah, so I know what play you're talking
about.
I want
to say that, yeah, the luck was there for the Vikings. The ball bounced their way on several occasions, and whether it was a tipped ball that landed in a Vikings player's hands or whatever was going on, things were going Minnesota's way.
The field goal that doinks on the upright and instead of going out, goes in.
Going back to your thing before we finish out some of the stats, June 2014, David Questenberry was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He had fatigue and persistent cough. February 25th, his cancer went into remission after completing radiation. And then on April 13th of 2017, he officially completed his cancer treatment. Later that year, he won the George Halas Award 2017. Pretty cool. His
story is fantastic.
His brother was drafted by the Chargers in 2018. Another brother, Paul, is a tight end who is currently a free agent. So, yeah, they got some big boys in that family. That's a cool story, though. Pretty cool.
What did you think of J.J. Watt saying that the Vikings are the 2-0 team coming into that game that he liked the most?
I respect him. I respect him for being honest.
And he said that when the Vikings were going against his former team.
Yeah, that's exactly the point I was going to make. I respect him for being honest as an analyst and not just being the homer and picking the Texans.
Not just doing the Mike hand both Giants every time.
Yeah,
right. Not being an in-person real life clickbait ad. Oh, wow, that's crazy, Kyle. It's almost like every time I get on Twitter, I call people crazy for doing shit like that. It's really weird. I met that guy. You want to talk about a large human? J.J. Watt. And it's annoying when you're there and you're like, oh, cool. If I'm in the room, no female knows that I exist at all. That's wild. Yeah. He's a fun guy, though. Really cool story about him later. If I haven't told it, I think I told it on the show a long time ago.
Didn't you get to meet him when you were on tour?
Yeah, I was overseas.
Deployed.
Yeah, when I was overseas in Kyrgyzstan, that was really cool. I jokingly, and I mean, there's a way that you can phrase things where someone will catch on that you're talking shit, but not really. My ex-wife at the time, she dug her nails into my arm so badly that I looked at her with a death stare. I was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" She's like, "That's JJ Watt."
But you would have done the same thing if you had met Katie Nolan.
Katie, oh God, I'm glad you said that. I love you. Go find that episode in 2017 on sports when I was on her podcast and I confessed my love there on the internet.
There you go.
So yeah, long story short, where I say, "Oh God, that is JJ Watt," and I grabbed her, I was like, "Let's go talk to him," and she was like, "Absolutely not." It's like, well, that's what he's here for. I'm gonna go talk to him. So I jokingly went up to JJ Watt 2012. This is the beginning of 2013. So the Vikings, I believe their season was already done, but this is the Adrian Peterson MVP year. Are you who I think you are? He said, "Who do you think I am?" I said, "Man, I know who you are." I was gonna say Jared Allen. I'm a Vikings fan. He's like, "This is defensive player of the year, JJ Watt." He goes, "Shit, I hope that I'm as good as Jared Allen one day." I'm like, "Well, you got there. I think you might have passed him on that." But he said, "Vikings, man." He goes, "That was a tough game." And I forgot Houston Texans game. The Texans have never beaten the Vikings. We held the Texans in Houston to 2 field goals that game, which was nuts. Just nuts. Adrian Peterson didn't have one of those 200-yard games that game, but he was really good. And later on, he said, "Hey, I've been on a plane and helicopter today. I'm really tired. But after I eat breakfast, if you're still here and you guys stick around, I will gladly come over and say hello to your wife." And he came over, was very personal, super nice. Fun fact, he had Andre the Giant hands. He was holding 4 Snicker bars in his hands, and he was taking snacks later. And I was like, okay, cool. The next day, I had a random off day, which you don't get very often, especially when you're overseas. And I'm walking by our little chill out area with a patio, and we have games and TVs inside. And he goes, "Hey, Minnesota." I was like, "Oh shit!" I played cornhole with JJ Watt and Quell Jackson. So
yeah,
beat the shit out of him. By the way, they're terrible. But yeah, those just the nicest dude in the world. But he is a massive human being, and it's just all some of the big boys that you see in the trenches. Oh, genetically, you're just a lot of mass and you're tall, big, and wide. No, he's just solid, like stone muscle. And I was like, what's it like to win the DNA lottery? How is that for you? Oh, you're a millionaire.
Yeah.
It worked out pretty good, you know? Like, that's my Jay Watson, man. Just by chance. And I met him in a third world country the money you've never heard of. It's weird. So, that tied in great with all the stats we were reading. Sorry, guys.
We get sidetracked so bad on this podcast. That's what makes it fun. Yeah.
Adam, you were right. Going back to stats, Ty Chandler didn't have a great day rushing, 7 for 13. I had mentioned some of the receiving. The people who caught touchdowns this game: Jefferson, Jones, Naylor, and Johnny Munt. Brandon Powell, Trent Field also had a catch. There were 2 fumbles by Brandon Powell and Sam Darnold. Brandon Powell recovered the one, actually made a positive play on it, which was nice. And then we get to the favorite. My thing to look at this year, the defensive stat sheet. Holy crap, man. I immediately go for sacks, quarterbacks hit, and passes defended. And my God, there were 5 sacks in the game, 9 tackles for loss, 8 passes defended, 8 quarterback hits. Good God. Brian Flores, please stay. Please stay for 5 years. We love you. Yeah, the leading tackler on the day, Andrew Van Ginkel.
During the game,
really good player, Andrew Van Ginkel. If you haven't,
you guys listening to the announcing from Charles Davis, because he said something that kind of caught me off guard a little bit. Charles Davis said, "Okay, the Vikings have enough of a lead now that they are just going to kick the ball in the end zone on kickoffs." And I look over at Josh, and I'm like, "They're going to do that all season long anyway. That's not just this game." I don't think preseason, regular season, I don't think they've kicked the ball in play once.
Why would you? Why would you?
As much as I don't like them starting where they start, I think that's the safest bet, because I think the opportunity with this new kickoff gives you a way better chance. All it takes is one missed assignment and there's a hole. And I've seen that before with guys that get ahead of steam. Okay, cool. You don't have the gunners in this situation either, where they can sort of just out fast everyone. Like, this levels the playing field in a completely different way. I think that's a smart move. I think they should do that every time.
The Vikings love analytics. I would not be surprised if they have some data set out there that tells them just kick it and just take the ball here every single time and you'll be fine. I really think.
I laughed to myself when Charles Davis said that. I was like, yeah, they're going to kick it there every time, no matter what.
Tell me you haven't watched any Vikings football without telling me that you haven't watched any Vikings football.
We did get to see
him and Ian Eagle doing the announcing, because sometimes the Fox announcers don't have the greatest pairings.
Yeah,
but I think CBS has a little bit of an advantage there. I like their commentators better, and I don't know why the Vikings-Packers game this week is on CBS. That's kind of wild to me.
I said the same thing, Adam. That's really weird. I thought CBS was always associated with the AFC, but who knows? There's 7 billion places to watch games now. Maybe they just divvied them up.
One of the nice things is that somehow my internet thinks I'm in Minnesota, so I get WCCO CBS on my Paramount Plus. So I will be getting pretty much all Vikings games until that fixes itself.
If that stays the same for you, that's sick. You get the home team and everything to that, I believe. So that's cool.
Oh yeah.
The interceptions. Reading off the stats again. Camus Grugier Hill. I'm trying to be fancy with it. He had an interception. So did Cameron Bynum yet again. And I'm leading myself right back to the point where I wanted to talk about it. I think Harrison Smith's done after this year. I think we said that last season, but he's here again, which is cool. We love you forever. Ring of Honor. Let's go. But are the Vikings going to keep Cameron Bynum around? Because he's going to generate some interest in the offseason.
If you guys want to see something mind-blowing, go to Spot Rack and look and see what he's projected to get as far as a contract for after his current contract to the Vikings is over. I don't know if Minnesota can pay that.
That's the ask. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think that they are going to want to pay him a big contract. Not because he's not a good player. He is a good player. But if Brian Flores sticks around, and I think he will, I believe that Flores is really enjoying his time in Minnesota, and I think he's smart enough to realize they're building something special. I'm going to stick around here for a little bit. He will be able to bring in another safety from somewhere through the draft or through free agency. And I'm not going to say the same production, but you'll be fine on letting him walk.
Yeah, he's projected at 4 years, $67 million, which is a wow.
That's a lot of money, dude.
I don't see them paying that for him. It sucks because I think he fits so well here, and he's a lot like Metellus, where he does a lot of like different things well. He can blend in well, but I'm not sure. And that sucks because losing Harrison Smith will be hard enough, but if you lose him too, that's going to be a tough one to swallow.
And Metellus isn't really a guy you want to plug in at stronger or at either safety position. You want him out there roaming, doing his thing.
Spielman was really bad about, these are our players, we drafted them, we're going to sign them to a max contract no matter what. We're not letting them go in free agency. And I get the sentiment. I get it. Hey, these are our guys. You want to reward them for playing well. Every now and then, you kind of got to let a guy walk. And I think that this is one of those times where you're going to go, the contract is going to outweigh what we want to invest at the safety position.
Yep.
Let him go, man. It's going to suck, but believe in yourself to find a cheaper alternative.
I think they thought they might have in the first round in the past, but no.
That was another coordinator that wasn't too good at his job. We can blame it on that one.
It's all on Shell's fault.
Yeah.
I still love going and looking at Harrison Phillips' stats under Dontel and looking at his stats of the first year under Brian Flores, and it's like night and day. It's like looking at the stats for two different guys. It's not even close.
Yeah.
Speaking of, there were some inactives that led to Mr. Myles Gaskin getting some looks yesterday. He had one kick return for 19 yards. Brandon Powell had one punt return for 10. I mentioned with my game ball, Will Reichard had a great day. And Ryan Wright punted 4 times with an average of 48.3, 193 yards total, and he had 2 inside the 20. One of them was 55 yards. So I am always team thick boy punter club. I like him a lot. So
he might have a bad punt every once in a while, but overall, I do think he's one of the punters that can get you quite a bit of space when you need it. So I like what he's been doing. And yeah, he had that one bad punt earlier this year, but I'm going to try not to hold that against him too much.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I forget which game, but I could hear the announcer as one of the former players like, that was not a good punt. So we just recapped the Texans game. I had no clue the Vikings were going to beat the 49ers and the Texans, who have a lot of hype from last year coming in. They do play in Green Bay, first divisional game of the year, this Sunday at 1 p.m. And right now, according to ESPN, the matchup predictor gives Green Bay a 54.7% chance to win, and Green Bay is a negative 2.5 favorite. So they expect this game to be close. So we'll see. Jordan Love is still questionable. Talking about this game, Malik Willis has done the job very well.
But I do have a question for you about that. Do you want to start in Jordan Love who is not 100% against this Vikings pass rush? Do you want to do that?
Shouldn't.
That would be foolish of them. That would be foolish. You obviously don't want your backup to get hurt, but if he's playing well, and that's a shout out, like I'll give him flowers right now on this podcast. We saw at the end of Aaron Rodgers, kind of like funny that he kind of just morphed into Brett Favre, just a little more conspiracy theorist, less dicks. Hilarious enough where you see like he was very good still at the end of his tenure, but you kind of see it was time to phase him out. Matt Moore is a damn good coach, man. He needs to get credit for that. And especially like kind of like with Kevin O'Connell, like you had Jaron Hall, Nick Mullins, Josh Dobbs, all these whoever at quarterback. Malik Willis I didn't think he was going to make it in the league past his rookie deal. And the last
Dude.
2 games, it's like, hey, do you imagine how pissed off Tennessee fans are? They're like, who the fuck is this guy? He didn't play for us. We let him go and kept this guy. We kept Captain Mayonnaise, who just has one dumbass play every week where you're just like, what are you doing?
I love that video of their head coach walking out. What the are you doing?
He was letting him have press conference too. It was great.
But during Sunday's game, CJ Stroud took a beating.
He did. He got sacked a lot.
Struggling.
And you could see on the sideline, it was like kind of shot behind him, almost like right here. You could see him sitting down and just like, I don't know if he was wincing in pain or if he was just pissed off or like overwhelmed, but his face read like he's not having time. And
the Stroud did look like he had like a minor tweak of his knee or ankle or something.
Understandable.
And I don't know if you want to put your highest paid quarterback in the NFL out there if he's not 100% against a pass rush that is super strong. I don't know if you want to do that.
I think it'd be smart for them to wait. It's not that we're scared of Jordan Love by any means. It's just if that was me and my team and my quarterback, I'd be like, if he's not 100%, don't put him on the field. Like they're riding.
Like Miami
they're
just
riding
throwing
away.
Tua out there because they don't want to put Skylar Thompson in there.
Right. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Green Bay's a hard place to play. Like I said, I'm giving Matt LaFleur his flowers. I think he's a great coach. I think they're doing a lot of kind of the same thing Minnesota's doing, except they're a lot younger than Minnesota. I think they're the youngest team in the league by average. But they're doing a lot with guys that
really well with young talent, and they are putting it together. It's interesting to watch.
Yeah, they draft very well. They've got not a number one standout receiver like Adams or Hill or Jefferson. They just have a collective group of guys that are better than the average at wide receiver 3 or 2, and they just mesh well together. And when I watch Jordan Love play, just his physical tendencies and stuff, I see where he studies under runners and tweaks his body a little bit that way. But I see Brett Favre all over again. Like, this dude will sling it across the field. He doesn't give a shit. He's got a little – I'm not saying he is, so don't crucify me for this, but he has a little Patrick Mahomes to him where he's like, fuck it, I can fit it in there. Like, and I kind of respect that. It's fun to watch, not as a Viking fan when you're playing them, but yeah, they're rolling right along. And I think it's funny because Detroit they did win, but they have struggled a little bit to start the season. How they're just like automatically a bid for the Super Bowl, and the Vikings are in the NFC North like 3-0 right now. It's really funny. And also, let me put this through 3 games because we all call this shit. Pump the brakes on Caleb Williams. 3 games into his professional career, and he has no touchdowns. So
he does have the Bears passing record for most passing yards in a game.
That sucks, dude. How do you break that record and not throw 1 touchdown? That sucks, man. I mean, they've won, so that's cool. They've at least won a game, but
so it's kind of weird to sit here and think, okay, so Minnesota has the Packers on Sunday, and then the next week they've got the Jets at 9:30 in the morning.
Bullshit. Hate that. I hate that so much.
And then it's a bye week, so this is all kind of approaching really quickly.
Guys, if they end up going 5-0 into the bye, I'm going to start being obnoxious, and that's why I want them to lose here. I'm going to be an 5-0
into the bye, and then you get TJ Hawkinson probably back into the offense after that.
And then you got that stretch that we were talking about. Okay, it is a little tough. So you got Detroit and the Rams, but then you got Colts, Jaguars, Titans, and Bears. And it's like, if they can get to, we were talking about it earlier in our earlier shows about the schedule prediction. This is where we were like, okay, this is where Minnesota is going to struggle in this stretch here. And right now they are, I don't want to say cruising through this part, but boy, they are really putting together some convincing wins.
I don't see, and this is just based on how they're playing now, they could warm up, but the Titans and the Jaguars don't scare me. And then you also get that stretch. I think it's a way where they play the Bears. The Bears defensive front, don't get it twisted. They're going to give Sam Darnold and the Vikings O-line some difficulties. But Brian Flores against a rookie quarterback, it's like Belichick used to coach against rookie quarterbacks. You're like, dude, I'm sorry, you're about to have a shitty day. Like, it is what it is. If they make it out of this stretch 4-1 or 5-0 and they go into that, dude, they might be like, we might be talking about by Halloween or early, I'll at Veterans Day, which is mid-November. We might be like, are they going to get the 1 seed? Holy shit.
I haven't had the opportunity to use this yet on the podcast. I just want to hear Denny Green talk about the Chicago Bears for a minute.
If you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
I forgot. That's amazing.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, Sergio's got it right. We're going to have that one fucking trap game where they lose to whoever. Or the best one, the Falcons will come in and Kirk will look great. Like, they should have Kirk Cousins. Whoa! Like, that's what it's going to be all season long. Yeah.
I can't wait to see where experts are going to put the Minnesota Vikings in their power rankings after this week, because it's going to be wild compared to where they were before the start of the season. Minnesota was like 23rd, 24th on most power rankings.
Bro, I laughed when I saw that.
And now they are likely to be top 10 on most.
They made it to Uncle Collins list after week 2. They're like, beat the 49ers? I'm throwing them in at 10. Like, these guys are legit. That was weird because that game on the scoreboard looked closer than it was. This game was not close at all.
There wasn't at no point were the Houston Texans ever truly in this game.
Yeah, they had no momentum the whole game. CJ Stroud played probably his worst game. They played 17, 1, 2, 19, 2, 3. In 20 games, this is probably the worst game he's had. And it looks human, which is kind of crazy. Because, dude, coming into the year, people are like, I think CJ Stroud's like top 5. Which I still respect him. I think he's still very, very good. But
oh, yeah.
He is.
I don't know. Yeah, currently 15 on average after week 2 on most rankings. Yeah, it's funny, man. And then after beating the 49ers last week, they still have teams like Cleveland ahead of us. Like, what are you guys doing? How can you objectively say that? First of all, we haven't lost a game yet. So my default goes, let's talk about this, chat. I want to understand what your parameters are. Because Adam asked me this, and I was like, I'm going off the data. If the data says we're 2-0, I don't understand objectively how you can put a team who's lost a game ahead of a team that hasn't lost yet. Well, we kind of know the personnel, their quarterback, their coach is better. Yeah, but you didn't. If they're so much better, they should have beat this team. Well, the Vikings played the Giants week 1. I don't give a shit. They can't control who they play. I always find that weird how that goes. And now that they're 3-0 and they throttled the Texans, everybody hop on board for a week. And just like Sergio said, it's like, oh, once we lose a game, they're going to jump off that bandwagon real quick. But I was wondering what the parameters are for like power rankings of are we talking about where they're trending, or are we talking about where they are right now? I think sometimes, especially at the beginning of the year, you base a team off of like, this is one of the things that drives me nuts about the national media. They'd be like, well, they got a lot of momentum. Remember how the last season ended? I'm like, the season ended 9 months ago. What do you mean?
It don't matter.
There's no momentum.
And this ain't even the same team.
It's not the same team, the same season, or anything. This is so long ago. What do you mean they have momentum?
I still do not believe that after all the player moves the Vikings did on defense in particular, that there were members of the media who sat here with a straight face and said, this team is going to be worse on defense than what they were the year prior. How?
Well, I understand the question marks are on like some of the edge rushers and some of the unproven players that are coming off big years that Minnesota brought in, but I don't know how they could look at them and say they were all going to flop.
Yeah.
I think the great thing about it too is they didn't go out like a Myles Garrett or Joey Bosa.
Yeah, they kind of diversified a bit.
Yeah, that's my point. They went out and got depth, and you don't have that like super. If this was Stephon Gilmore, we would have been like, take it, book it to the Super Bowl, baby. Like, here we go. He's not the same dude. He's a little older, but he's still very good.
But while we're talking about this little signings that have been helping, I didn't think at all that Jerry Tillery would be a guy that would be able to come in and contribute. I don't know. I'm not going to say I had given up on Jerry Tillery, but I thought he was going to need something special to be able to come in and be a regular contributor, but he's doing it.
Yeah, I was warned by my brother that he was not going to be that guy, but I saw his name quite a few times yesterday. I was very happy to see him causing a ruckus yesterday, as the kids would say.
Yeah, it's those kind of signings, the little ones where you diversify a little bit and don't have to invest too much, where you can get a great return on investment. And I know Minnesota, when we're talking about that, like Jonathan Grenard did get paid. Van Ginkel got paid. Cashman got paid, but they weren't getting like, Daniil Hunter money.
Right.
Well, Jerry Tillery is no Marcus Davenport. Let's keep that clear, please.
I think, if you look at this team from like the bird's eye pulled back perspective, because I forget sometimes too that the Vikings are our team. And so we are way more invested in the minutia of the Minnesota Vikings than what some of the outsiders are. So if you look at this, if you pull clear back and go bird's eye, you're going to go, the Vikings are losing Daniil Hunter in free agency. He's been a massive part of this defense for a long time. They're going to be worse because you're losing him. And I think that we all kind of understood a little bit better that, hey, Daniil Hunter is a strictly 4-3 defensive end, really good at his position, but we switched for a 3-4 hybrid defense. And Brian Flores is going to be able to, addition by subtraction, get pieces and parts that individually are not as good as Daniil Hunter, but fit better in the scheme. And because they fit better in the scheme, you're getting better overall production from the defense without having Daniil Hunter,
I'll admit, I panicked when the Vikings were losing Hunter, Davenport, Wanham. I was wondering what they were going to do, how they were going to get guys in here to generate a pass rush, but that has not been a problem.
Well, you gotta give a shout out to the management on this team too. KOC and Quest and all those guys that work with them, because they had these guys on their radar ready to go when the new season and the new year began, because those signings were almost immediate. You're like, yep, this guy's gone. He signed here. Like, call this dude up. This is who we wanted, which I respect, because I feel like when the search for the head coach was going on, we were flirting with Harbaugh so much. I was like, who the fuck are we going to pick to be a coach? Because we got to draft people, and he's going to be a key part of that. And obviously, I'm glad we got Kevin O'Connell. But, yeah, that's something that sticks out to me now that you say it out loud for this offseason. They signed these guys pretty quickly, which means they kind of knew, and on the radar, they knew. Like, yeah, they knew.
It feels like it's been so fly by the seat of our pants, disjointed, because it was that way.
Yeah.
It's refreshing, like you said. They had a plan going into free agency. These are our priority free agents. They might not be yours, they're ours. We're going for them, we're signing them, we're headed in a direction that we believe in, and it's fucking working. That's not something that the Vikings have done before. I mean, you look at them signing Brett Favre. That's like a Hail Mary. I hope this works. And it did. But that was just a total. That was a throwing a dart at a dartboard. That wasn't a plan.
They can't all be, Donovan McNabb or anything like that. The older players that they bring in,
right?
But Sam Bradford. I mean, these older guys they brought in for a go are interesting, but you can't put Sam Darnold in there because he is not an older veteran that had previous success. This is a completely different story.
This is a flyer. They've taken a flyer on a guy, and it's funny because now he's getting a little bit of attention in the national media. He's younger than guys like Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, some of the guys that are like established. You're like, oh shit. That's what I was saying earlier. Like, if he ends up having comeback player of the year, get the MVP votes, Vikings go to the NFC Championship, God forbid they go to the Super Bowl with this dude. They'll build him a fucking statue outside.
I'll build him a statue in my front lawn.
Yeah, I legitimately thought about it yesterday. I said, okay, if this continues, and if this was the year, wouldn't that be the most Vikings thing? You went and got Kirk Cousins, the reliable veteran. You drafted Teddy Bridgewater. You had all these guys. Sam Darnold was the one guy who brought you a Super Bowl. Wouldn't that be just the most Minnesota shit ever?
Dude, the script has already been written. The NFL wants the three-peat, and they want the Swifties because that's so. I mean, like, who cares?
I am going to show this because we're going off the rails with Super Bowl, and I kind of leaned into that. I'm going to share the screen. I want you guys to look because I didn't think that this team would be above the Vikings, but we have to talk about it for a little bit. I click on share. Playoffstatus.com. Week 3 of 18, the Vikings are number 2 in the league with an 11% chance to win the Super Bowl, 20% to get there as of right now, 33% to get the NFC Championship, 53% to the divisional round and a 78% to get to the postseason as it is right now. And they are second only to the Pittsburgh Steelers because we all had that on our bingo card of the Steelers going 3-0 with Justin Fields. You know what I mean? Pretty crazy. I had this one lined up from last night. I was like, what are our playoff chances? Because the big narrative right now around the league and around the media is, well, if you start off 0-3, you're screwed. And I'm like, that's not true at all. You go on like a 5 to 6 game winning streak, you're right back in the thick of things. Especially if you lose like out of conference teams that aren't in your division. All you have to do is win 6 games a year, and you're going to the postseason. So, but I thought that was pretty crazy. I was like, what are our chances right now? There's a 78% chance to keep this up. We're going to the playoffs, dude. I didn't even think the team was a playoff team.
Right.
I still think they're going to lose on Sunday. But you guys can yell at me next Sunday. I hope you get to, because
it definitely makes you want to go get a chicken baker, a double chunk chocolate cookie.
Oh, Sergio, I would be so sad if we had to play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. It would be a worse blowout than that Broncos Seahawks. That would be worse than that. I would be so sad. I would turn my phone off for like 3 days. I wouldn't listen to anyone. I'd be like, don't talk to me. All my friends would call me and be like, oh, you thought you were going to win the Super Bowl with Sam Darnold, you piece of shit. Like, I could hear it now.
I'm not joking. If the Vikings make a Super Bowl and they lose, I'm not doing a podcast about it. I'm not talking about it. I'm done.
Well, this is where you too. We can end the show, but it's where you talk about like tortured fan bases, like Detroit and Cleveland. They've never even fans of how long they've been a team never see them in the Super Bowl. Then you have the heartbreak of like Atlanta, the 28-3 run, or the Bills. How do you go 4 years in a row and not win one? Like, that's devastating. But us as Vikings fans, like, if you're not of a certain age, you've seen. And I have to tell my friends that when they ask, like, have the Vikings been in the Super Bowl? I'm like, they actually went 4 times in the 70s and I think once in the 60s total for 4, and they haven't been back in 50 years. So what do you do? I think that there's 2 or 3 teams that should have went to the Super Bowl, and probably 2 of those teams, you know which one I'm talking about, that should have won it, but came up short on a couple plays.
Before we go, we do have to give a big congratulations to Matt Khalil's brother, Ryan Khalil, on being eligible for the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
You had to pause for like half an extra second on the Pro Football Hall of Fame for Matt Khalil's brother Ryan. Congratulations for being nominated. When Adam typed that in the chat, I was howling. I was like, "Oh, you dirty dog! You had to do Matt Khalil that way." Oh man, losing for the 5th time, the only team to lose a 5th Super Bowl. Yeah, just get ready for it, man. That's what this team does. It's going to happen. The universe hates us, and we're just going to be tortured forever. I've accepted it. I'm going to die.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to lay me down in a coffin or cremate me and put me in the urn, and I will never see my team win a championship. I'm preparing for it mentally. That's why I'm being so negative now, because if it happens, I've said this on this show a handful of times, and God knows my brother would vouch for me if you guys ever got to have on and talk about it. If the Vikings win the Super Bowl while I'm still alive, don't talk to me for 6 months. I am going to be obnoxious. 6 months every day I will wear, and I'm not kidding, I mean this full-heartedly. I'm not doing this as a bit. Every fucking day from the day that Super Bowl goes on, I wear a Viking Super Bowl shirt and or hat every day until the start of that next season. I'll be that guy. You gotta
be one of those fans that picks a second favorite team that's always a Super Bowl contender.
I have no respect for people like that. No. You get to die miserable or be happy. You don't get both worlds. You don't get to be happy when you're ride or die. That's like what religion is that?
And if you're a third favorite team, just no.
What religion is that where you get to have multiple wives? Yeah, no, don't. We're not
something in the Middle East.
Normal people don't do that. Whatever they do in Utah, that shit that they do, I forget. Normal people, you have to suffer, all right? You got to suffer with your spouse. That's what we do in America. You suffer with one spouse until you die, right? That's it.
We just got kicked off YouTube.
No, I did. Let's finish talking about Vikings football here. And I watched the movie Blink Twice last night. It's a horror movie. And I'm going to say I can't really recommend it, but boy, if you get triggered from almost anything, I don't recommend you watch it. It's very,
Yeah, I heard the content of
Triggering.
that was pretty bad. My boss at work, he goes to the movies a lot like I do. He said I wouldn't watch that. I wouldn't recommend that movie to anything because of the subject matter.
I knew nothing about it going in, and I wish I had because I don't know if I would have watched it.
Well, while we're on the subject of that, Adam, I saw the
pile of dog shit movie ever while I was in Texas. And I can't believe Demi Moore and Dennis Quaid signed off on this. The Substance has to be the most fall off the rails second half of a movie I've seen in a while. And I'll spoil it for all of you. There's like prosthetics involved where Demi Moore is walking around like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, like that guy from 300. If you guys remember 300,
Yeah.
when the Hunchback wants to join the Spartans, but he can't lift his shield high enough over his hunch. She's in a getup like that, and I'm like, what are we doing here? I wanted my money back after I went to the theater and saw this movie. It was awful. But I'm glad that you had a bad experience too, Adam. I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm glad it didn't happen to just me.
The movie you're talking about, Adam, are we talking like Martyrs level?
It's like, presented in a different way to where with Martyrs, at least there's like some redeeming qualities about it in ways. This one Martyrs is not quite that way.
Martyrs is violent. I'm assuming you're talking more like Serbian film.
The violence in this movie is different.
Okay, we'll discuss.
There's some, from what I've been told, and this is just from my boss. He's like, I don't condone sexual assault of any kind, and that's kind of a foundation of part of this too. And just from reading the synopsis, I'm like, oh, that's kind of dark. Which is cool. I felt like
icky watching it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. When I read it and heard those comments from my boss, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to watch that, you know? Good point, Adam. I'm sorry you had to endure that. I had to endure something similar on my own voluntary free will, but I'm sure you probably stayed at home. I drove to this, so I want my I want my ticket money.
My couch and watch it.
I want my ticket money and my gas back for the stupid movie I had to watch.
But hopefully we can do another horror podcast here one of these days. I would like that.
Yep. Yeah, we'll pick a good one. There's some good ones.
Mr. Weston on one of these. Who knows?
I'm still a big fan of the one that I saw recently. If you guys want to review it, to watch it again, it was really good.
We got to make Kyle Smith watch Martyrs. Do a podcast about it.
Only the American version.
Yeah.
I was so disappointed when I found out that they remade that version of Old Boy for the US. And
you literally read my mind. I was just gonna make a comment about Old Boy, the Spike Lee Old Boy movie.
Oh boy,
why? Terrible.
But you can check out my work over on the Viking Age. I had a couple articles come out, and if you go on game day to the Viking Age, on the morning before game day, I usually do an article about who the announcers and referees are before the game. I try to include one little thing about the head official that can be like a little nugget you can take away. And I thought it was kind of fun because this week was Ed Hockley's boy was the head official.
Sean Hockley.
Sean, there we go.
Sean Hockley.
And the interesting fact I had about him is that he is the first and only NFL official ever to hit Tom Brady with an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty.
I love it.
Oh, God,
so yeah, there's always little nuggets of fun in there. I had my winners and losers come out this morning, and I'd appreciate it if you could go and give me a click every once in a while. Give me a read.
I like when referees have a little bit of personality to them. That's always what made Ed Hockley fun. Ed Hockley
flexing.
And I like Sean Hockley. It's rubbed off a little bit on Sean Hockley. He's got a little bit of personality to him.
And Hockley's unit is known for being a unit that does not throw a lot of flags. They like to let teams play.
Makes it fun. It's the way football should be.
But sadly, on Sunday, boy, they had to throw a lot of flags for procedural things and, false starts.
I've never seen 3 false starts in a row. They went from 3rd and 4 to 3rd and 19. That was incredible. I've never seen that in my life.
But yeah, that work over on the Viking Age is a lot of fun. I enjoy putting those together for you guys, and I hope you guys enjoy reading them. You can go to my social media at MNVikingZombie. That is X, YouTube, TikTok, Blue Sky, Threads. I'm on all of them. I don't even know why. Instagram, Snapchat. I got them all. I don't know why I do, but I got them.
Adam, who's in your top 8 on MySpace, and why am I number 6?
You know, I actually logged into my MySpace, and there are people I don't talk to anymore in my top 8, and I'm like, what?
I logged into mine about 5 years ago, and I almost had to go to the emergency room for cringe. I was like, oh my fucking God. And I deleted that account so fast. I was like, I am thoroughly embarrassed at myself and the weird, corny time frame of like late 2000s that I was so embarrassed.
Yeah, I've had the same Facebook profile since high school. And occasionally it'll be like, hey, remember this from 2004? And I'm like, no, I do not want to remember this. Please delete.
Yeah, I've had to delete some of the old memories. This is the things I would get so spirited about 10 years ago. And I'm like, why did you feel the need to share that with everyone? You idiot. Here you go, Kyle West. Plug away, sir.
Hey, you can check me out at Vaguely Square over on Blue Sky. That is my social media platform of choice. Give me a follow. We will talk Minnesota Vikings football or horror movies or Resident Evil, all of that fun stuff.
As a side note, boy, this would have been an interesting year to do a survival league because this league is
how everyone would have been
the wildest wins and losses I've ever seen. You can expect whoever you want to win. That doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, by this time would have been at least half of I think everyone would have at least gotten a strike by now, if not a couple of people on the brink of losing just by the third week.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, somebody asked about that in the chat, too. Jake was asking about the Discord. Jake, if you're still moving, shoot us a DM. I'll try to
we do get the Discord moving. We've been in there every week, so feel free to hop in and chat.
I don't think he has the link. If you're watching, if not, I'll try to find you through the comments and reply. Send us a DM on Facebook, and we'll try.
It's always a good time in there, except when we got our usuals in there sometimes. Charlotte can be a pain in the butt, but what can you do?
I made sure to send her a message on the side today, like, "Hey, we will promptly be starting at this time." I moved it back 2 hours, so
you even messaged her about it.
Hey, if there's one person that's going to keep us in check in this show and is consistently here, I know she's going to be on there being like,
"Oh yeah,
excuse me, what are we doing?" And I've grown to respect it. You know, I appreciate it. Thank you, Charlotte, for keeping us in line.
We take care of our regulars around here.
We tried to.
Yeah.
I see that I should talk about my photography website. That's kylewest84.pickfair.com. Go ahead and check that out and maybe buy yourself some photography while you are there. If not, you can share it on your social media platform of choice, and I would appreciate
that. Help your Mayfield money. Oh, that's down here. Who did Mr. Carlson had a potty mouth this Sunday?
All I said was F you, Hunter. I think that's all I said. F is okay. It's just a letter of the alphabet.
He sent that to us in the chat too. I didn't see it at the moment because I was focused on driving, and I checked my watch and I was like, is that what happened? Did the season just finally collapse?
Duh.
Is that we usually don't say that about Daniil Hunter, but turns out everything was all right. We brought it up earlier. Sam Darnold has a bruise on his knee, but there's no need for any kind of surgery or anything like that. So probably a little sore, but looks like he's going to be fine. Which is
they'll
nice.
get him some rest. He should be fine.
For me, you can follow me on Instagram, NC Dog Dude. I'm on the Twitter machine as well, X, whatever you like to call it. Follow me there or Instagram at NC Dog Dude. Glad to be back, fellas. Work was very fun. I do love Texas. I did something very cool. I'll tell you guys on the side while I was there. But I'm glad to be. I did not think this football team was going to impress me this much. So,
do all your exes live in Texas?
They do not. None of my exes live in Texas, actually.
Oh boy, I would not have guessed that.
Which is scary because that means they're closer.
No wonder you want to move to Texas.
Yeah.
Thanks again to everyone for making us the #1 sports podcast on Podomatic once again. We love that when we get that little notification. That's great times. The full catalog of videos can be seen on YouTube if you want to go back and watch shows about specific games or time periods or whatever. We are there. And you can check out the most recent 4 or 5 shows wherever you listen to podcasts. We are usually there. I don't know where you listen to yours, but check it out and see if we're there, and we probably are. That's all I'm going to say about that. But thanks again to everyone for joining. We love having you in the live chat, and we hope you can join again. And we'll be back next week to talk about the game against the Green Bay Packers. Thanks again, and remember to stay classy, Minnesota.